Hi, welcome to my video. Today's video is gonna be an intro to my Pandat palette of 2024. I have chosen my Pandat palette for 2024 to be Colourpop's Going Coconuts. This is a nice neutral palette. It's quite small, which I think would be pretty easy for me to try and use up. I have never used up an eyeshadow palette before, but let's give it a go this year, huh? As you can see, one shadow is almost used up already, so let's hope that I can use up the rest of these shadows as well. We'll see. So let's go through the shades one by one. This first shadow here is called Shredded. It has a tiny pan in it. I'm hoping you can see. I tried to hit pan in it for about 6 months, and it finally happened, I would say, a couple of weeks ago. This one I don't think will be too hard for me to use up, now that I can zero in on this one particular eyeshadow palette for the whole year. Next shade is the shimmery white one here. It is called Palm Reader. It has a bit of a dip going. I have been trying to use it in my inner corner. I have it today as well. This whole look is actually from this palette. I'll tell you later what I used. In my inner corner, I've been trying to use that one for the past like 3 or 4 months, and it has a small dip going on. I don't think this will be a hard shadow to use up, but I do use such a small amount of it each time that I use it. So I don't know. The next shade, last shade in the first row, is called Coolada. It is a cool toned, mid-toned grease shade, which is one of my favorite shades in this palette, but it is very hardly pressed, which makes it really hard to use. I have used it so many times, but you can barely even tell that I have used it at all. So that one's gonna be pretty hard to use up. Next shade in the middle row is called Lovely Bunch. It is also a mid-toned grease shade, but it is a lot warmer and it is a lot looser. So you can see that I have actually used it quite a lot. That one's gonna be way easier to use up. In the middle here is called Cocoa Crush. As you can see, there's huge pan in it. That is not organic use. I have to disappoint you. When I got this palette, this shade was broken, and I just kind of tapped it in with my finger, tapped it back into the pan, and ever since I've been trying to use it up. And then about 6 months ago, I dropped the whole palette, and of course this shade crumbled out. Most of it was all over my kitchen floor, so I wasn't gonna put that back in here. I was just left with maybe 1/3 of this shadow, which I've been trying to use that one up then, because I really don't want to lose that shadow. That's one of my favorite. It is my favorite shadow in this whole palette, but it's one of my favorite shadows in my whole collection. So yeah, that's almost gone. That's gonna be the first one to go, I'm pretty sure. The next shade here is called Shell Yeah. It is a terracotta, a reddish mid-toned grease shade again. So that's the third grease shade now in this palette. That one is probably gonna be the hardest one out of those grease shades to use up, because it is not my go-to shade. It is a bit too reddish for me, but it is quite loosely pressed, so I don't even know which one of these would go first. I'm gonna put this up right now, that I am about 100% sure that I cannot use this whole palette up within this 1 year. So don't get your hopes up too high, I'm sorry. The first shade in the last row is called Get Cracking. It is, as you can see, a dark brown matte that has glitter in it. I hope you can see. Oh my god. Yes, now you can see the whole palette. Oh my god, I've been stupid this whole time. That one I don't think is gonna be too hard to use up, because it is really loosely pressed and it is a nice outer corner shade. Next shade here is called The Cocoa. It is a dark brown shimmer, which I think is gonna be the hardest one in this whole palette to use up, because I am not really into dark shimmers. we'll see. Maybe I can use it as a liner. I don't know. We'll see. And the last shade down here is called Nutty. As you can see, it is a very dark brown shade, matte, and it's not the type of shade that I usually use, so I think that is gonna be the hardest one to use up. These two I think are gonna be the hardest ones to use up. This one I can probably use as a liner, but this one I don't know what I will do with it. These two will probably be the last ones in here, and these four are gonna be the first to go. As I said, I am using this palette in my eyeshadow look today. I have this shadow all over my base, setting my eyeshadow primer. I use Urban Decay Potion Primer. And then this shade here, Lovely Bunch, is all over my crease and all over my lid actually. And then this shadow here called Get Cracking is in my outer corner and in my crease. Cocoa Crush in the middle, the most beautiful shade, is all over my lid. And then I have this little lovely shadow in my inner corner. I really love how this look came out, but these are the easiest shadows to use. So I really have to figure out how to use the rest of them, which are gonna be the hardest ones to use. I tried swatching out all of the shades for you. First shade up here is called Shredded. That's the lid setting shade. You can barely even see that it's there. And next one here we have Palm Reader. That's the inner corner one. Next one we have Coolada, cool toned crease shade, warm toned crease shade called Lovely Bunch. Lid shade, Cocoa Crush, that's the nicest one. Yeah, you can see it. Then we have the reddish crease shade called Shell Yeah. Next one, Get Cracking, the outer corner shade. This is the shimmery dark shade, which you can't really tell is shimmery at all, called the Cocoa. And lastly, Nutty. That's the dark shade. Thank you very much for watching my video. If you're interested, please stay tuned for next month, where it's gonna be my first update for Pan That Palette 2024. I hope we can see some progress, but I am not sure. Thank you very much. Bye bye.